is Dan. He's doing speech number 3 in the CC manual called, this speech is called Worth Fighting For. Let's welcome Dan.
Can I just get a reminder on the timing for what the colors mean?
Okay, so 5, 6, and 7.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to ask you if you've ever set a goal for yourself, a really big, meaningful goal, but didn't quite reach it. Anyone ever do that? All right. So I recently had some instruction, heard a story that made a big impact on my life on how to actually not have that problem, actually achieve the big, meaningful goals that we set for ourselves in our life. And that's what this speech is about. I'm going to give you a tool and a story to help you not have that problem. Okay. So recently, I went on a trip to something called the High Performance Academy in Wyoming, and it was hosted by a guy named Brendon Burchard. I don't know if any of you have heard of him. All right, yes, he's awesome. And I thought, well, that's where I heard this phenomenal story. And I thought it would be great to share here because at Toastmasters, I think there's a lot of people who are high performers. I think by simple fact of just trying to improve on a skill that people are not demanding that you do, but you're trying to improve it anyhow, sets you apart from how most people operate. So hopefully you can benefit from this element of high performance as well. So the story that he told was a parable. Let me back up one moment. He said that, we all have these big goals in our life. We all set them, and we struggle to reach them. And part of the problem is that we know that we should do X, Y, Z steps to get there, right? But we don't always do them, either because we lack the discipline, we lack the motivation sometimes. Even though we know we have to do this thing, we just struggle to get motivated to do it, right? Or perhaps in order to get there, we have to go outside our comfort zone, something we're not comfortable with, and so we don't do it. And it makes it difficult then to actually accomplish the goal that we're after. So he told a story about how important it is to have a why that drives your goal. So not just to have this goal of something to improve your finances, to improve your career, to improve your personal life, your relationships, but to actually have a deep, meaningful why behind it that goes beyond even just your own motivation. So the story he told was a parable about a guy who is being taught different life lessons through different events. And the guy is thrown into a lion's cage. And as soon as he's thrown in, on one side of the cage, he sees, obviously on the other side, a number of lions. And they've fed a little bit, so they have blood on their fangs and on their manes, but they're still hungry. They're still starving for more food. So he gets in this cage, sees lions on the other side. He's terrified. He starts shaking the cage, let me out, right? The lions start approaching him, slowly walking towards him, fangs bared, right? And he's terrified. He sees them coming, they're approaching, they're just a few feet away. He's still shaking the cage, let me out. He can't get out. The lions approach him, start clawing him, scratching him. He goes down on the ground in a fetal position and just curls up in fear at these lions right on the cusp of biting into him and killing him. In that moment, the lions start to walk away, and he doesn't know why. They start going in the opposite direction. He stands up, he looks confused, fuddled. He looks at the other end of the cage, and he sees his wife at the other end of the cage. So the lions are now walking and marching towards his wife away from him. The moment he sees that, he sprints down to the other end, goes over here. Lions are on in front of him. His wife is behind him, so he gets in between the lions and his wife. The lions are not afraid of him, obviously, so they still come marching towards him, start clawing and nudging their way towards him and his wife. He stands in front of them, and he doesn't know what to do except just to try to push them away. He doesn't have any weapons or anything like that, so in spite of them baring their fangs and clawing at him, he just pushes them away and says, get out, get away. And they start to actually just nudge back, even though they're still growling and clawing. They start to actually fall back away from his wife. And then he turns around, looks to her to see if she's safe, and she's not there. And his wife was an illusion, it was an image. She wasn't really there. The whole time while this is happening, there's a lion tamer who is perched above all of this action. And he says to the guy, and points to him after he sees his wife no longer there, and says, something worth fighting. So this man, who in one moment prior to that was cowering in fear at this danger, when having a purpose bigger than himself, more important than himself, was able to muster the courage and the will and the motivation to move lions away from his wife to protect her. And the moral of this story, the point to get out of it, is that when you have a goal, beyond just the goal of itself, whether it's a dollar amount of money that you want to earn or a particular job that you want to have, if you can set a purpose for it that's beyond yourself, that's bigger than yourself, whether it is for your spouse or your family or to help someone else, you will find a motivation and courage to achieve that goal that you wouldn't have otherwise. For myself personally, some of you already know, I have my own personal training business, I'm in the fitness world. For me, my mission, my purpose is to liberate people from this frustration of being overweight, of being uncomfortable with how they look, from struggling with poor health. So it's not always about me. When I have to do something for my business, maybe it's even just writing a blog or whatever, and it's that lazy Sunday and you don't want to do it, but you can remember that bigger purpose that goes beyond just your own self-satisfaction, but actually helping somebody else or accomplishing a mission for other people. It allows you to have a motivation and a courage that goes well beyond anything that would be just about you and your own goals. And I found that story that he shared to be phenomenal and life-changing, make a huge impact on my own life, and I encourage you all to do that for yourself. If you have a goal for yourself, to find something beyond yourself that will inspire you and motivate you to reach that goal sooner, faster, more. Thank you.